Nothing around the bathroom, just up the stairs and to your lift.
Thank you.
Cool. Well, welcome everybody. This is a little bit different class, and you might not have ever been to anything like this before, because not only do we have some actual live participants here, we also have about 150 people joining us on the webinar or Google Live Hangout. So welcome to everybody out there in Hangout land. Thank you for joining us and hanging out with us. And thank you for everybody showing up today. It's amazing. I didn't know who was going to show up today, so it's always fun to see who shows up, who doesn't show up. This class is called Living Beyond the Shadow of Disease, and just a little bit about myself so you guys know where I'm coming from. I'm an access consciousness facilitator. And it's the tools and process from access consciousness that, like I've written in my book, Curing the Incurable, which I use to change a hideous disease that was literally eating me from the inside out. And I had tried everything. I had tried every diet that you can possibly name. I've done it. I tried every meditation technique and 1,000 different therapies, and I spent thousands of that. I actually sold my house in Australia, and I had I spent about $250,000 over 3 years to find something that would work. Now, having said that, there were a few things that assisted me, like medication assisted me at one point, and some of the diets and the weird stuff and the therapies that I use all worked to a point, but they didn't give me the change that I wanted. And it wasn't until I got to that point where I'm over this. I have a super clearing. It's called "fuck it, I'm over it," and that energy with that swear word there is where I had to get to before I was actually willing to make the change. It's called a demand, and so I made that demand, and it was either I would find a quote unquote cure, or I would commit suicide. So I gave myself about three to 6 months for something to show up, and I went back to England to say goodbye to my father. And then the romance of it was I was going to buy a yacht with the leftover money in the Mediterranean, and one day somebody would just find me floating around dead. So didn't work out that way, thank God, and I bumped into this stuff called access consciousness. I had my bars run, which is a technique, some of you may have had it, which is a technique on the head which allows you to start to receive different possibilities. Well, after that bars session, which is about, for me, was about 90 minutes, I left and I thanked the lady, and I said, and then I promptly started crying once I got out of her sphere, because I didn't really feel anything had changed. But I bought a book there called Embodiment, the manual you should have been given when you were born. And I was flying to the United States the next day, and hey presto, we were waylaid on the tarmac. So I got to read that book 5 times. And every time I read the book, something else jumped out, something else jumped out. And then I started to recognize that beforehand, before the bar session, that I couldn't receive other people's points of view. I couldn't receive things. I was in resistance. That I actually had blinkers on. That I had a point of view that how I was going to change this. And of course, your point of view creates your reality. So if you have the point of view like I had, that it was a bowel disease, therefore it's going to be changed with diet. And that's the way that it's going to do it. And I'm not going to have medication because medication is a wrongness, etc., etc., etc. Then medication won't work, and anything that's not a diet is not going to show up. Any other therapy or anything else will not show up. So what I found was that the bars started to unlock all those places where I had these blinkers and started to open up my awareness. And that's what I do. And what I be. It's about consciousness and about awareness, not about so-called healing. So for me, what I have found is when I step into being more conscious and more aware, then things can start changing and my body's natural ability to heal can rev up and start to take over and do its own thing. But while I have a point of view, then there's no way that I can see any other possibility. So even if there's a new wonder jog out there for bowel disease, I wouldn't have been out, I may have been able to see it, but I would not have been able to receive it because it wasn't matching my point of view. Does that make sense? So forward now, that was 10 years ago that I created that disease, and I had it for 3 years, and it took about a year to 18 months to really get on top of it and change it. And so I've been running these classes called Curing Incurable and Access Consciousness classes now for about 7 to 8 years, and I've traveled the world doing that, and it's a great deal of fun. But what was really interesting was I was watching TV a couple of months ago, and I saw a Codral Cold ad. You know the one where Codral Coldex, you take the tablets for the flu and you soldier on, yeah? And I'm going, wow. I almost started thinking in my head, I bet it's becoming winter, I better go out, better rush out to the local supermarket and get some tablets just in case I come down with a cold. And this was something that I suddenly realized that we're always living with this shadow of disease. You walk into a coffee shop and you're talking with people, and they start talking about cancer, or somebody comes around and they ask you to buy a daffodil or a pink ribbon or something like that, and there's always this shadow there. And then if you're a cigarette smoker and you go in and you buy a packet of cigarettes, it's all over the cigarette boxes now. I know here in New Zealand anyway, and in Australia, I don't know about other countries, but there's these warnings that if you smoke this, you will get high blood pressure, that you will lose a limb, that you will have cancer, whatever that is. And so I went, wow, no matter where we go, we see it on the television, we see it in ads in newspapers. If you drink too much, you're going to have psoriasis of the liver, etc., etc., etc. You go into a doctor's surgery and the walls are plastered with, have you had your flu shot? You know? And it's like, oh my God. And it's just everywhere. You walk into a school and they talk about you know, there's some kids with whooping cough or whatever, and then there's signs all over the place. There's whooping cough going around, and you start buying into this reality, and it's always there. It's always pushing you to be in fear, or pushing you into trying to buy a product or an idea. So one of the things is I don't like pushing products. I'm not a very good salesperson. If you're here because you want some more information and you want some more awareness, and that's why I've done the free call to start off with, or the free webinar to start off with. And this will turn into, for those people that are really interested in going beyond disease, beyond that shadow, and creating and generating a life of fun and ease, a phenomenal life, then we'll be doing that in what I call a 5-week telecall class, which if we have enough people here in Nelson live, they can come live on that as well. But I will talk a bit more about that later on. So what I would like to ask all of you right now is if you've got any barriers up, if you're testing the water, if you're seeing, will I receive this? Will I actually take this on board? I don't want you to take it on board. I'd like you to just lower any barriers so that you can receive it without judgment. So it's not about judging me, or Liam swore earlier on in the piece. It's just like, oh, okay, that's interesting. Liam swore. Okay, what was he trying to give me there? What energy was that all about? And have a look at it from a place of no judgment. So anywhere where you've got any walls up right now, would you be willing to at least lower them by an inch or so that you can at least receive the information, hello, and awareness, so you can get some of this stuff and start applying it to your life if it's light for you. Okay. So everything that doesn't allow us to pull that barrier down and receive at least 10% of what I'm talking about today, can we destroy and uncreate all of that? Yes? No? Yes? Thank you. Good, bad, right, wrong, pop, popcorn, ice shop, boys and beyonds. And so when I ask a question, it's like, if you want to make a change, say yes. If you don't, then just zip up. One of the first tools I know a lot of people out there who have heard all this before, but there are some new people that haven't heard this, and so I'd like to give this tool straight up. Whatever is light for you is true for you in that 10 seconds, and whatever is heavy is a lie for you in that 10 seconds. So if you find if something feels light today, then it's true for you, and if something feels heavy today during this class, then it's a lie for you. So please ask a question, because it may be that you're going into resistance, or it may be that it's not true for you. So don't go with my awareness, because my awareness is different to yours, 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 yours and yours. Yeah. So always go with what's light for you. That will always ensure that you get the awareness that you are seeking, that you know is true for you. And this is one of the things, like going beyond that shadow of disease, and I was talking about the shadow there, somewhere in the background. And if we take that Codral Coldex tablet type scenario again, the ad, you can either start to buy into that because you've seen the ad 15, 20 times on the TV, or you can start to resist to it. Oh, they're just trying to sell me something, and it's all rubbish. Yeah. So either way, if you resist it or align with it, then you're actually creating more reality, more of that polarity of that reality. So you're creating more energy around colds and flus and drugs and all of that, not less. In order to be able to go beyond all of that, you need to be an interesting point of view and know what is true for you. So if you're looking at if you're looking at having some Codral Cold tablets or headache tablets, aspirin or whatever it is, you could ask, is this light or is this heavy? And if it's light, then cool, you can buy them. And if it's heavy, then don't. Find something else. Ask another question. So a lot of the Access Consciousness tools, which are really very simple but absolutely totally amazing, because they go to your insane mind where you've actually decided what you can't change and starts to unlock it. So any of the weird stuff that I talk about today, where you may go, what was that? Is that we're actually going to that point of creation where you bought that and you've locked it into your insane mind. Because if disease and health and all of that was sane, you would have worked it all out already. Yeah. But because we make a lot of it secret and hidden, and we're not willing to actually perceive what's true for us, and we keep on buying other people's points of view, and we're constantly caught up into this electrical vibration of the rightness and the wrongness, the good, the bad, and the positive and negative, rather than stepping out of it, then we can't perceive a different possibility. We can't see what is really true for us, and we just create more of that reality of pain, suffering, and gory. So are you guys finished with the pain, suffering, and gory, or would you like to hold on to it? It's just a choice. What are you going to choose? For all of those that would like to give up the pain, suffering, gory, and have a life of ease, joy, and glory, would you now be willing to destroy and uncreate everywhere where you have made a commitment to only having pain, suffering, and glory in any lifetime? Yes? Thank you. Good, bad, right, wrong, pop, pop, all night, short boys, and beyond. Okay. Cool. How does it get any better than this? What else is possible? So living with the shadow of disease is what I have found over the many years, that there were like 5 elements to create a different possibility to go beyond. And those 5 elements are courage, humour, the willingness to walk with your body, never being distracted, and the willingness to create a phenomenal life. And because I'm totally autistic and go all over the place, so you'll have to forgive me on that one, because I tend to follow the energy, I'm going to go in reverse, because that's fun for me. So when I read those 5 elements out, the one that really reads the most in this 10 seconds is the last one, which is the willingness to create a phenomenal life. Because what we tend to do when we're in disease, or when we're resisting the drug companies or whatever it is that we tend to stop creating our lives, and we tend to make the rightness or the wrongness of our point of view greater than us as infinite beings. So, and what we try to do when we're in disease, we try to find the answer that's going to fix the problem that we've already decided that it is. And often it's that decision that stops us, because it's actually not that that's creating the disease in the first place. It's actually something totally different that you wished or pushed way over there. So, so the first thing to do is go, what would I actually like to create as my life? Do you want a phenomenal life? Do you want an extraordinary life? Do you want an amazing life? Or do you want a normal, average, boring life? Which one reads most for you? You can shout them out if you like. I'd like some input on that.
Extraordinarily phenomenal.
Oh, wow, now you're my type of person, yeah? Okay, let's go beyond the phenomenal to extraordinary phenomenal.
Amazing.
Amazing, yeah. So one of the things is that I look at is the words that we use, and that's why I use phenomenal life, because extraordinary actually just means an ordinary life, but with all the bells and whistles of this reality, yeah. And an amazing life can be where you get stuck in a maze, and so you're always in this maze, because our point of view and the words that we use create our reality. That's not saying that cut out the word amazing, yeah. But when we say, "Oh, you're amazing," like Felicia is amazing with like flower arrangement, for instance. Now, I've got no idea how she does that, yeah. So I'm amazed because I don't have any idea how she does it. Okay, so but if you shoot for whatever is true for you, remember, is like for you. And I'm just using those words now so we can have a look at that, how our words create our reality, because we'll look at that a little bit more in detail. So, so when you're in the thick of it, when you're already in the grave, yeah. Often we get tools, or we get processes, or we get therapies, or we get drugs, or whatever, and it just enlarges our grave a little bit. So you know that hole, you dig it a little bit bigger, so there is a bit more space, and it feels like you're making some headway. And then all of a sudden you turn around and you realise you're still in the hole, and it feels a bit funky. Well, that's because you're not actually working from what you would like to create as your life, as your future. You're actually just looking for the answer. So, and then trying to dig your way out of the hole. What you really need to do is to step up and expand out, and part of that is, one, being able to say what it is that you'd like to create as your life. So, you know, I don't know what phenomenal for me is totally different for you. It might be totally different for you, But if you're shooting for that, then you're actually creating a roadmap for yourself, and whatever matches that phenomenal energy for you will get you to there, and you will start to move out of the hole without having to try and just work within the hole that you've already decided. So,
when you talk about that, Liam, about having a phenomenal future, are you talking about projecting that into the future? Or are you talking about having an idea of what that is, or are you looking at the energy of it?
So the question there is, what, when you're looking at a phenomenal future, are you looking at what's in the future? Yes, you are. You've got to be willing to perceive what you would like as your future. And you go, that's what I'm shooting for. That's my target. Yeah? And then but what you've got to do is institute every day what will create that future. So you're creating for your future, not creating in the future. And what we tend to do, especially in disease, is that we see our future without the disease, without the cancer, without the diabetes, whatever that is, without the bowel disease. And we're trying to shoot for that, but it's in the future. So you're always creating it as something further in the future, and you're not taking the steps today to actually create that. One of the easiest ways to look at that is with money, because often we're going, oh, like one day I'm going to have the money to do that world trip or whatever it is. That's your target, the world trip. But in the meantime, you're not taking the steps to creating that money. Like in 3 years' time, when you've decided to do that world trip, you're not taking those steps to create the money in 3 years' time. So when you get there, you still haven't got the money to go on your wild adventure. Yeah, and it's the same with disease. When we keep on trying to create the cure in the future, what it is in the future, rather than taking the steps today, what can I do or be today that will create more ease with my body? Yeah, and when you ask a question like that, it opens up the energy, and then the universe, that very, very big thing out there, will start to adjust things and move things in a way that will allow more ease to show up. I've made several demands over the last week or so whilst moving, because it has been a little bit funky, and that's not part of my reality. And last night the heater went cuckoo, the water heater, and I woke up. I woke Felicia up and I said, "Is it raining?" And she said, "I don't think so." But it sounded like it was pouring down with rain. And I got up and I realised the heater was working really, really hard. And after about 15 minutes, I went outside to check it all out. And there is hot water pumping out the top of the house, and coming down the drain, and it sounded like a rainstorm. Well, I got really, really, really upset and angry, and I went into all the woes, all the stuff. Oh my God, how much is that going to cost? And oh, did I do something wrong? And exactly the same as when you delivered the energy at the doctor's. Yes, you have cancer. Oh, what did I do wrong? And you go into all this weird stuff, and oh my God, and you go further into the hole. I went into the hole and I started looking. Okay, I've got to get out of this. What can I do or be here? I started running. I know I've got tools upon tools upon tools, and what I found was that there were a lot of entities around me, and they were all pushing in on me. And so I started clearing these entities, and it was getting a little bit more ease. And then Felicia said, "What the hell is going on with you?" And what was the word that I used? I said, "I am seething. I am just, it's an anger." There was just this river of anger that I had both my feet in, and I was just like, and I just could not get out of it. And then Felicia said, "How much space would you have to be to change this?" And so I went, oh, first of all, I actually went, Felicia, yeah, because I didn't want to hear that. Part of me wanted to actually be in the pain and the suffering and the seething, you know. We'd watched a movie at that night, which may have contributed to that, about this seething anger energy. And so after I'd gone, well, hang on a minute, I'm just resisting Felicia here. Okay, I'll just expand. And so I just said in my head, expand, 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 expand. That's getting out of the hole. And as soon as I did that, Felicia went, oh, that's much better. Okay? And within 5 minutes, the seething had stopped and I'd started drifting off into a nice, comfortable sleep. Yeah. Now, the awareness that I got this morning, like a lot of people often ask me, what was it that caused your disease in the first place? And the first thing I say, nothing caused my disease, I created it. I created it with the thoughts, feelings, and emotions that I was using, that I was choosing, and I was creating my life from that. And then the next part is, there is no one thing that I can put my thumb on it, because there was just so much going on in my life. But last night, there was this energy of seething. And I realized that over the last couple of months, which has been a really rocky road for me, and a lot of energy coming up, and that's why I wanted to create this series called Living Beyond the Shadow of Disease, because I was creating more sickness in me, and I thought it was because I was always frustrated, and that's where I had misidentified that energy. And now I recognize that it was actually seething. So one of the things that we do is often when we come to a conclusion or an answer that this disease is caused by incorrect diet, or this disease is caused by anger, or this disease is caused by, I don't know, because I played with mercury when I was a kid, yeah, and it destroyed my immune system. Right? And if it's not that, you'll know it's not that, because if you do all the mercury cleansings and all of that, nothing changes. Yeah? So, and if you change your diet and still you have the disease, it's not that. Yeah. So it's something else. So when we misidentify a disease as having a cause X, is caused by cause X, and it's not, it's Y, and we keep on looking at cause X and trying to change that, and it will never ever change because we've misidentified the energy. So anywhere where you have had a disease or a sickness in your life, and it could be the disease of money, it could be the dis-ease of having children, you know, not being comfortable around kids. It could be a disease of relationship, whatever that is, or a disease of the body. Anywhere where you've misidentified what the cause is, would you now be willing to destroy and uncreate that? Thank you. Good, bear, right, wrong, pop, popcorn, iron, short, boys and beyonds. You see it all the time. Like, one of my favourite sayings is, if you have a cat and you lose your cat here in Nelson, and then you fly over to Wellington, which is over the ditch, yeah, for those people that are in the rest of the world, and like 500 k's away, probably not that much, but a long way away, and you put the signs up, I've lost my cat in a different city. A cat can't read, so that's a bit bizarre. B, you're looking in the wrong city, yes, and that's what we tend to do with disease. We're always looking at the wrong, not always, but often we're looking at we've misidentified what the energy is. So, number one is creating a phenomenal life. And in the Telecall series, which is 5 weeks, we'll be looking at each one of these elements in much more depth. So to take away today is like, okay, so what would I like my life to be in 5 years' time? Yeah, and then start to implement whatever that is today. So if you if you want to have if it's with your body and you want to have a life without disease in your body, then okay, so you can have a look at, okay, what can I do today that's going to create that? Yeah. If it's a disease of money and you want like $1 million in 5 years' time, it's like, what can I do today to start to create that? And that will start to create your phenomenal life, your extraordinary phenomenal life, your amazing life, whatever it is that you're choosing. I don't have a point of view about what you're choosing, but I take it that you're here today because you want to go beyond the shadow of this disease. And disease is anywhere where there's not life. Yeah. So the second, any questions there? How are we doing for time? Oh, cool. No questions? So you're welcome to ask any questions that you desire. I do have a question on the internet. How do we get any better than this? Okay. Where is Maria? Okay. So there's no such. I actually was here in Nelson when I first came here 3 or 4 years ago. You know, when you go to a bed and breakfast or a hotel or whatever, and you open the top drawer of the cabinet next to your bed, and there's always a Bible in there, yeah. Well, I opened it, and it was it wasn't a Bible. It was Chinese sayings, like from Confucius and stuff. So I went, okay. So what gift could this book be to me today? And I opened it up, and it said, I could do the Chinese accent. Oh, no, I won't do that. He who asks a question will look like a fool for 5 minutes, and he who never asks a question is a fool for life. So I went, oh wow, that matches the exact energy of what I say. There's no such thing as a stupid question, just stupid people that don't ask questions. Yeah, and stupid doesn't mean a dummy. It means that you just cut off your awareness. So if you have any questions, because a question will always open another door to a different possibility, please ask. Yeah. Okay, so number 4, we're going backwards. Not being distracted. Now this is something that we'll look at more in the bigger class, but there are what I call this, or what Access Consciousness calls distractor implants, and these are there are 16 of them. I won't go through all 16, but I'll go through the first 4 because these ones are often associated with disease: anger, rage, fury, and hate. Yeah? When you come down with a disease that you can't change, or a chronic disease, often those things come up at some stage. You know? So you go into, you'll go into anger to try and change something. Anger, rage, fury. Rage is where you just can't change it, and you're just starting to stamp your feet on the floor like a 2-year-old, you know. And hate is where you just hate the whole medical profession because nobody can do anything for you. There's just nothing that can be done. And fury is just like anger and rage, just all mixed in. And when you're actually in those energies, you can't receive a different possibility. Yeah. Blame, shame, regret, and guilt are another 4 that have a big impact on people who have created disease, because often they go into the guilt that they have done something wrong, either in this lifetime or another lifetime. And when you're in that guilt, you can't see any other possibility. So these are all distractor implants. They're ideas or emotions that have been implanted in us over many lifetimes and in this lifetime, that if you've done something wrong, you should feel guilty. Well, when your body is in disease, most people go into the wrongness of it, not the rightness of it. Yeah, Tim.
I'll just make a comment or question about you saying that when you are in that rage and fear and anger, you're cutting yourself off from any new perspective coming in. But my thought then was that a lot of the repression of those feelings and the guilt associated with those emotions, which are seen as negative by society, are the very thing that stops that transcendence to another reality, because it's a natural feeling to have those emotions associated with the frustration of not being able to change your life. And so we're all being repressed and say, don't feel those feelings. So it would almost be that by expressing those without any guilt, not as a permanent thing, but as a way to release the...
Well, this is exactly right. But what most people do, or at least 50% of the population, about 47% of the population actually, what they do is when they go into anger or rage or whatever, later on they go into the guilt for having that in the first place, which is going into the wrongness of themselves. They're beating themselves up. So it's a judgment. So you want to stop judging yourself. Even if you get angry, don't judge yourself as being a bad or a wrong person. It was just from the access point of view, it's a distractor implant. It's distracting you from just who you be. So, but never ever make yourself wrong about it. So, like the other day when I was getting angry at something. Oh, last night, like when I was getting angry at the water heater, it was distracting me from any other possibility. I couldn't see anything else. And then later on I started beating myself up. Not a good idea, especially if you have a disease. It's not a great idea, because it's the judgment that holds the disease in place. What if the biggest disease on this planet was actually judgment? What if we stepped out of judgment? Most of you guys who are either on the webinar or who are here live today tend to go to the wrongness of you. Rather, something bad happens in your body, or if something stuffs up in your life, you tend to go more to the wrongness of you than the blame of somebody else. And if you do blame somebody else, you will then go to the wrongness of you later on for blaming them. Yeah. So it constantly distracts you from who you are actually being. So if we can move these distractors out of the way, like fear is also one of those distractor implants, and is a big one with disease. And disease is actually held in place with fear. And you see that with all the cancer stuff that's going on the planet at the moment. Is cancer increasing or decreasing at the moment? It's increasing. Why is it increasing? We have better access to health facilities. We have better medications. We have better diets. We have better living standards. Why is it increasing? Because of the polarity of this reality, and we're talking about it more. And the fear is holding it all in place. The judgment, it's a wrongness. There is no rightness in it. And we're constantly being sold it. And you guys either resist it, those bloody drug companies, they're just trying to sell me rubbish. My stepfather died of prostate cancer. Really, he died of all the drugs inside him. I could either go to the wrongness of that, or okay, that was his choice to have those drugs. Okay, cool. And he wasn't interested in changing it. But with that judgment or that fear in place, you can't see a different possibility. So when you go into any one of those distractor implants, anger, rage, fury, hate, blame, shame, regret, or guilt, it's sort of like, just bring up, here's the tool, okay, just bring up a stop, okay, and just stop judging me. Just stop not judging Liam. Just stop judging yourself. Yeah? Just stop. Expand, 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 expand to your phenomenal life. That's the target. Yeah?
The first thing that comes to me is that I'm really scared of the possibility of having a phenomenal life.
Yeah, cool. So can I ask you a question? Yeah. Are you an infinite being or a pile of poo?
Harlequin.
Really?
No.
No. So what are you first and foremost? An infinite being. Yeah, an infinite being is a being that is really big. Yeah? Okay. Could an infinite being ever really be scared?
No.
No.
Really?
So scared is just another way of saying fear.
Yeah.
So when you say that you're scared, is that really true, or is that a distractor designed, or an implant designed to distract you from who you truly be? That one, yeah. So everywhere where you, I don't know your name, sorry, Lara, everywhere where you have bought the distractor implant of fear and basing your reality and your life on that, would you be willing to give that up and destroy and uncreate it all?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Good bear, right, wrong, pop, pop, corn, ice, short boys, and beyond. And it can be that easy. And then next time fear comes up, this is the question to ask. Would an infinite being truly choose it? Yeah? It's a powerful question. Because A, it gets you to acknowledge that you're the infinite being. And B, it gets you to see that you actually have a choice and that you're actually choosing to make the fear greater than you. Cool. So number 3, walking with your body. How do you feel now, Lara? Heavier, lighter, same, different? Happier, sadder? Yeah, cool. So this is what we do with these clearings, is that when we do a clearing and you start to feel lighter, it means that it started to unwind the jumper. You know, your woolly jumper, and you get it caught and it starts to unwind. Well, it starts to unwind for you now. So walking with your body. This is something that I've seen in a lot of people, and you might have noticed it yourself in other people. It's quite easy to see. Next time you go down to Nelson High Street or your local high street or whatever, do a bit of people watching, and you'll see people, most people either walk a little bit in front of their body or they walk a little bit behind their body. And if you know of people that are always bumping into things, it means they're really not connected with their body. They're a little bit, might be a little bit up above it, or a little bit to the side of it, or a little bit below it, or behind it, or in front of it. So when their body actually gets to the item, they're not aware, and it's sort of like, oh, bump. Yeah, maybe you have done that. You often see it with little kids when they start getting tired, yeah? And then they start bumping into things, and they dropping things, and they reach for stuff, and it's just not there, and all that sort of stuff. It's because they're so tired, and their beings are really sort of like not with their bodies any longer. So walking with your body is really being very present and aware with your body. And it's sort of like right now, if you just pick a point in your body where you've had a little bit of pain or something like that, and just take your awareness there right now. It might be, I get a lot of stuff going on in my coccyx really recently. So whatever that is for you, could be an itchy sore throat or whatever. And now just expand, and expand a bit more, and expand a bit more, and expand a bit more. There's no how to, it's just make a demand on yourself to expand. And now check in with your body. Is that pain more or less? Has it changed? Less. Yeah, it's amazing when because you've just, instead of making the pain a wrongness, instead of going, oh, that bloody backache again, oh my God, you know, instead of making it a wrongness, you're actually expanding and involving your body. Now, there's a whole bunch of stuff in my book about that too, and it's about connecting with your body and asking it about it. Because so many times we come to a decision that, okay, body, we're going to do yoga, right? And you go off, you buy your leotards, and you start doing weird stuff like this and standing on your head and all that jazz. and you never even ask your body whether that's going to create the change that you would desire in your life. So by reconnecting and walking with your body, being with your body, talking with your body, having a communion with your body, a conversation with your body, then you will have more awareness about what your body requires to change something. And often at these things, like I'll drink a can of Coke, because my body requires massive amounts of sugar sometimes for energy, because when I'm doing these clearings and when I'm working with you guys, I'm not just sitting here, I'm right across the whole world right now in 160 people's realities, changing energies, which is something you guys all have to get capacity to do. And I'll drink a can of Coke, and then there'll be somebody in the audience that will have a resistance to Coke, because Coke is a wrongness. There's too much sugar in it, The idea of Coca Cola as a big company, and they're cutting down the rainforests and all these other sorts of things. And I've forgotten totally what I was saying. Oh yeah, so when a person has that amount of resistance to something like Coca Cola, I think Coke should probably subsidize me. I talk about them so much. And if you're resisting it, then you can't receive from the Coca-Cola if your body really requires it. So if you step out of and expand, and then ask your body, would Coke assist you in making the change here? Because have you noticed, do you breathe or does your body breathe? Do you sit there going, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out? Are you a blonde? Have you heard that joke? Huh? Yeah, I'll tell it. It's a great joke. So this blonde walks into the hairdressers. She's got earphones on, and she says, "Yeah, I want my hair cut, but you can't take my earphones out." Okay, no worries. So she's cutting and cutting, and then she comes up to the ear part, and she goes, "I can't cut around these. I just take them out." Puts them to the side. And a minute later, the blonde falls on the ground, and she's dead. Oh my God, what's going on? She said, what was on that tape? So she picks them up, listens to it, and it's breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. Yeah. So, but it's true. We don't need to tell our bodies. We don't need to tell our bodies how to digest things or where to send the enzymes. It does that all automatically. But what we tend to do is we buy the scientific point of view, or the grandmother's point of view, or your doctor's point of view, or your therapist's point of view about how your body operates. And your body might be totally different. It might be sitting on one of those ends of those continuums that doesn't actually work on the average. Are you guys average, or are you a little bit different? Yeah, a little bit different. And this is how they tend to test drugs and stuff and diets and stuff, is they take like 100 people and they do tests on it. And the middle 60%, the drug or the diet works well. The bottom 20%, it kills them. The top 20% has no effect on them. Now, if you're in the top 20 or the bottom 20, and you bought that this drug or this diet or this therapy is the one for you, and it doesn't work, you're just buying the average, normal, and real, and you're not including your body. You haven't asked your body, what is it that you desire to make the changes that we desire? Body, what is it that you require to make the changes that we desire? Yeah. And by asking a question like that, it can open up more information and awareness for your body, and your body may well start to eat or drink something very different. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all very well, but how do you hear the answer from your body?
Well, that's great. There's lots of different ways of doing it. One of the ways that I do it is I use a muscle testing technique. where I stand and then with my feet together, heels together, toes together, and I stand up, and then I will ask my body, would you like to, I'll just give a quick demonstration. Body, would you like to digest this chocolate caramel biscuit? And it's a no, because it moves backwards. Like, if it moved forward, then it would most likely be a yes for 99% of people. Yeah, and sometimes you'll get it that it will move to the side. Or maybe you know another muscle technique, you know, like this one or tongue one, or maybe what's light is true for you and your body, and what's heavy is a lie. Yeah? Have you ever been to the fridge and you're looking in the fridge? Oh, there's nothing to eat here. I'm really hungry. Oh my God. And the fridge is full and you just don't know what to eat. And it's like, have you ever asked the question, is it my body or somebody else's body? I mean, truth, is your body separate to the planet, or is it connected? We're all interconnected. We're all psychic, infinite beings. So if somebody else is going, I'm really hungry, I'm really hungry, I'm really hungry, and you're sitting there and you're just a psychic being picking it all up and you think it's yours, you'll be stuffing yourself full of ice cream. You don't even like ice cream.
That's why I've got such an obesity problem.
Yeah, you're really obese. But exactly how many people, if you have got a lot of weight on, like how often have you actually been eating for somebody else's body? And have you actually asked your body, what do you desire? Yeah? So that's a huge thing, and it was one of the things that really assisted me. We're going to go 10 minutes over time. Is that cool with you guys?
So, excuse me, Liam, if you say you end up getting diagnosed with some cancer or something big, that could be someone else's disease.
It could be, if you're picking it up and making it your own.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually working with somebody at the moment who thinks that they have the cancer.
What if it's been tested and it's positive?
Well,
The cancer's in their body.
you as an infinite being are omnipotent and omnipowerful. Yeah. I have a friend that says if you start talking to her about the body, it's like, oh, my body is aching, oh, my body is this, oh, I'm feeling sick. She'll say to you, shh, my body's listening. Yeah? You have a thought that goes through your head like, oh my God, I've got an itchy throat. Am I coming down with the flu? And your body will go, oh, you want flu? Cool. I know what that's like. Bing. You just created it. So what if you went, okay, oh, itchy throat, mine or somebody else's? My kids do it all the time. They'll pick up, next time this little one has an itchy throat or something like that, you want to find out if grandma has got an itchy throat, or her elder sister, or whatever it is. Yeah, because we're often connected in that way, and we often have commitments with other people to take stuff out of their bodies.
I often have a sore tummy when she's
And it's amazing. Well, as a mother, that's totally okay, because you know that. Every mother in the world knows that when their child is having a sore ear or whatever, or fever, you know, like Harmony was home from school with a fever yesterday, and I woke up in the middle of the night and I was so hot. It was sort of like I thought I had left the heater on, and you know, I come from Australia where it's like really, really hot cans, and here it's really, really cold, and I'm just like stripping off. And then she comes in and it's sort of like, I don't feel well, and then, oh my God, you're burning up. That was my body's way of giving me an awareness of what was going on in Harmony's reality. Does that make sense?
No, it does.
Yeah. So we'll be looking at more of that later. Humour is a massive one, and I've got an article on the Access Consciousness blog site about this. It was to advertise this very call, so I won't go into that too much today. But you know, people who are angry and upset and poor miserable me, yeah, are they fun to be around? When you're doing that, are you fun to be around yourself? No. So you need to have a sense of humour and to start to see where you're actually choosing all of this in the first place. Yesterday I was on a phone call with a friend, and he was having some stuff going on, and he was doing the poor pitiful me thing. So I facilitated him, and by the end of the conversation he was making fun of it and laughing, and Harmony was lying on the couch there, and she was in the poor pitiful me, and by the end of it she was laughing too. So there's that interconnectedness. I facilitated this guy, which actually facilitated Harmony, which facilitated the place where I live, which facilitated this class today. Yeah. So you really want to ask that question. If you're having a thought or a feeling or an emotion, especially in your body, is this mine? Or is this somebody else's? Remember, whatever is light is true for you, and if it's light, you usually will smile or giggle or something like that, or it will just feel more expansive, and return it to sender. So courage is probably, this reality looks at courage like somebody who dives into a burning house and pulls the dog out, you know. But courage is the willingness to really look at the good, the bad, and the ugly of you, and to not judge it. So if you're actually willing to look at the ugly bits of you and not judge it, okay, I'm being a nasty bitch today, awesome, then you can change it. You can choose something different. But when you tend to sweep it under the carpet and be nice and bright and never look at that ugly side, it will pop out. Have you noticed it always pops out with the people that you love the most as well? Yeah, you wouldn't scream and yell at a total stranger, and yet there you're doing it with your daughter, with your husband, with your mother, whoever that is. And then you go into the distractor of guilt. Yeah. So expand out, destroy and uncreate it, everything that's holding that distractor in place. And keep on expanding, expanding, and stop judging you. Whenever you catch yourself judging, is a judgment light or is it heavy? Heavy as hell, yeah? So when you are judging you, it's a lie of magnitude. Anywhere where you've judged you, and anywhere where you're planning to judge you in the future, would you now be willing to destroy and uncreate all of that? Thank you. Good, bear, right, wrong, pop, popcorn, ice shot, boys. Now, one of the questions on the computer here was about having a lot of energy in the body, and this woman uses the bars technique, which is one of the things that the hands-on head thing that I was talking about at the beginning, and she has to have her bars run 3 or 4 times a week in order to deal with the amount of energy. So, but one of the things, apart from getting your bars run, is also always expanding. So it's going back to that phenomenal life and that tool of how much space do I need to be here in order to change this right away? Yeah. For me, I don't want to change it in 3 months' time. I want it now. Yeah. So if you ask that, how much space can I be to change this right away? Yeah, it might be 1,000,000 miles, it might be infinite, it might be bigger than the universe. Whatever that is, and then you make that demand, and you have the courage to make the demand. I'm going to do that, whatever it takes, even if it means that I have to be totally vulnerable and look at all the bad and horrible, ugly parts of me, all of that stuff that I've swept under the carpet. Not this carpet, because it's just been cleaned. Okay, cool. So those are the 5 elements, and really I wanted to talk about those because they give you some background on A, of the class that's coming up. B, it gives you some background of where I'm coming from, and it gives you, C, it's given you like 5 or 6 really great tools, and I bet none of you can remember more than one. Hence, this will be live streamed. I've got your emails. I can send you the link, and you can either watch it again later on. So,
Will you be sending it out as an audio link?
at the moment, I'm just sending it out as a link. Okay. Any questions? So one of the things that has come up really for me is to go beyond anything, you really need to destroy and uncreate everything about it the day before. Because if you have a disease in your life or in your body, if you've already decided that it's something, and if you've already decided that you're going to change it in a particular way, that decision will stop you from being able to see any other possibility. We talked about that right at the beginning with the blinkers. So at the end of the day, if you want to really go beyond something, if you want a phenomenal, extraordinary, phenomenal life, then you need to destroy and uncreate everything that you have decided about what that is each night before you go to bed. So if you have a terrible relationship and you're always yelling and screaming at each other, one of the cool things to do is to destroy and uncreate your relationship with that person. Yeah, that's cool. Destroy and uncreate that. Destroy and uncreate your relationship with that person. You can destroy and uncreate your relationship with your body. You can destroy and uncreate your relationship with your points of views. You can destroy and uncreate your relationship with anything, because relationship really is a judgment. Often in relationship is the measurement between how close and how far you are away from somebody or something. So when you go into that judgment, you know, like Lara, if we were in a relationship and you're sitting over there, I might go, oh my God, she's very far away from me. And then if I came and sat right next to her, it might be like, oh, I need my space, move away. Yeah? So we're always going into judgment about how far something is away from us, or how close something is, or what's right about it and what's wrong about it. And what I found just recently, this came from that particular thing of going, in order to go beyond anything, you need to destroy and uncreate everything that it was before, was from a book that Gary Douglas wrote, which is called Beyond the Utopian Ideals. And it was was it from that?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And when I read that, it just sort of, oh, that matches the energy of living beyond disease. And as I said earlier on, over the last couple of months, there's been a lot of dis-ease, discomfort coming up in my life. And it's sort of, okay, cool, in order for me to go beyond it, I've got to have no point of view about it whatsoever. And anything that I've made significant about that, I have to destroy and uncreate it. It's not. That's the lie that's perpetrated in this reality. Yes, because in this reality, nobody says life is meant to be easy. The old saying is, life is meant to be hard. Yeah? And we have bought that lock, stock, barrel, sinker, lock, whatever that is.
And it's reinforced, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, yeah. It's like you've got to work hard for your living. You've got to fight hard against cancer, which just creates more of that reality. You've got to fight for peace. Ooh, does that really work? Mm-hmm. No. So does fighting against cancer or for cancer really work? No, it creates more reality, more of that reality. So if you and that's the tool. That's why I give you these tools. So if you have a disease, destroy and uncreate your relationship to it every day. And if you catch yourself like, oh my God, there's that symptom again, that's where you start locking it into your body. You've got to destroy and uncreate that. Destroy and uncreate everywhere where, oh, I just locked it into my body. Everywhere, every time you go, oh my God, you know, that's the heart pain again, you know.
But you've also got other people connecting to that, you with that relationship, with that disease.
Yeah, what invention are you using
Disconnect.
to create relationship through disease are you choosing? And everything that is, would you be willing to destroy and uncreate it all? Good, bad, right, wrong, pop, popcorn, ice, short boys, beyonds. You'll see people do it a lot with money, you know, like, oh, I haven't got any money. Oh, well, I've got less money than you, you know, like my job really sucks. Oh, my job sucks more than you. It's creating a relationship through disease, not through ease. You know, like if I was to
You're
say...
creating it yourself. I mean, everyone else who reacts and reinforces that disease that you might have.
That's why you guys never want to talk about the diseases that you have, because you know that they'll put energy towards creating that, or you'll resist and react to them, or they'll say, oh, we'll just go to the doctors, and then you'll resist and react because you don't want to go to the doctors, and they're trying to shove their point of view down your throat and all of this other sort of stuff. And when you know, when I say to people, you know, like, I have an amazing life, you know, people can't actually see most of my life. They just see a little tiny bit and think that's Liam. Oh my God, I have such an amazing, phenomenal, extraordinary life where I have so much access to awareness. But if I say that to people, people are like, you're just being a wanker, mate. Yeah. So that's the reason why we never show our greatness, because people like to put energy against it.
Can you just give an example of the pain thing? So say my hip pops out and it causes my leg to go numb.
Yeah.
So instead of giving that energy and focus, do I just ask my body, okay, do I...
Does it actually pop out of the socket?
Yeah, like it pops out of me. Like it needs to be clipped back in. So do I say, oh, okay, something's happened with my hip, and I'm just open, and I ask my body...
No, usually you'll go, oh, fuck. Yeah?
No, but like...
No, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's the minute where you go, oh, okay, cool. What is this? What can I do with this?
So instead of thinking that I know what's happened, I ask.
You ask a question. Because when you ask a question, you'll get an awareness of that. If you go, oh my God, that's because I kicked the ball, yeah? Every time that you come to kick a ball with your daughter, you'll be, oh, will it happen again? Yeah? So it's sort of like, okay, once you, how does it get any better than this? Is a good question to ask. And then you can ask some more questions like, what is this? What can I do with it? Can I change it? And if so, how can I change it? And those 4 questions will get you out of just about anything. Yeah? And never make it a wrongness, because your body talks to you in 2 different ways. One is through pain, and the other one is pain, quote unquote, and the other one is through orgasm, quote unquote. So when you're feeling light and expanded and your body is like, wow, you know, that's your body giving you the awareness of this is the thing that you would like to be creating as your life. And when it started to feel impacted, or flu symptoms, or aches or pains or whatever, that's your body's way of giving you an awareness that you're not either listening to it, or you're not getting enough information and awareness, or that you've brought somebody else's point of view, or you're resisting. So you want to ask, don't go to the wrongness of it, you want to ask, what's right about this that I'm not getting? So if your hip pops out, it's like, don't go to, oh, there it is again. That's a wrongness. It's like, oh, what's right about this that I'm not getting? And then things will show up in your life that will allow you to have a different possibility. Cool. There was some other stuff that I wanted to go into, but it's not reading at the moment. So I'd like to thank you all for coming. And if this is something of interest to you, like, we've got bars class coming up on this Sunday. That's something that's fun to do with your body. You can check out my website, liamphillips.accessconsciousness.com, for all the details of it's here, and all of that jazz. And also this class, Living Beyond the Shadow of Disease, which will be a live class here in Nelson, and a class over the entire globe by telephone, which will look at all of this in much more depth and also start to create the place where you can go beyond. Because if your life, and this class that I'm advertising right now is not for everybody. This is for people that are making the demand that this is changing. I'm going to have something totally different in my life. So if you just want normal, average, it's probably not the class for you. If you want something phenomenal and beyond what you're actually having with your body in your life, then this may be something that you'd like to consider later on. So just for the people on the webinar, if you want to find out more about that, it starts on the 14th of July, Bastille Day, and I picked that day specifically because it's the French Revolution, and that was a time in this reality where people wanted something different, and they made a goddamn demand on it and chopped some heads off. So this class is about chopping off your own head, where you've decided that this is the problem and it's not, and it's sticking you. And if you want to go beyond that to something phenomenal, something amazing, something extraordinary, then please come along. And if not, listen to this a few more times, because there are some really great tools that I've gifted you guys. So, hope you enjoyed that. Hope to hear some of you on the call. And what else is possible? Any questions? Any statements? Cool, awesome. We've got some yummies. You're quite welcome to hang about and have something to eat if you want. And I'm going to have a cup of tea. Could you put the jug on?
Sure.
Yeah, we're going to have a cup of tea now. See you later.
Thank you.